think my first purchase was born out of the fact that I was just tired of paying rent. I was just
I
tired of
can
paying rent.
imagine. Yes.
Every time my rent goes out of my account every month, I just feel like a very big part of me
Yeah, I can
is being
imagine. I
picked
can
up.
relate. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ruth. Welcome to another episode of Couch Convos. Thank you for joining us again today. So we have with us a guest who is going to talk to us about everything you need to know about buying a house in the United Kingdom, all of the processes involved. I'm sure you're going to be excited to see how this conversation goes. But before I, continue with this, welcome to the couch, Adekunle.
Thank you, Ruth, for having me on the couch.
I'm glad to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm good, feeling good.
Good,
It's
good,
a
good.
good Sunday, so good to be here.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad. So reason why we have you on the couch is to help, answer some questions about the buying process for houses in the UK. And one thing that struck me about you before we had this conversation is that you bought 2 houses in the UK in the last 5 years.
Yes.
How's that been? How do you feel?
Well, it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
The family is happy about it, and I mean, it's something that we've wanted to do for a while.
Nice.
It took a lot of planning, but
That's good.
well, it feels good. I'm happy about it.
That's good. I'm excited to hear more about this, this whole process. Well, first question would be, what motivated you to buy a house?
I think my first purchase was born out of the fact that I was just tired of paying rent. I was just tired
Can
of paying rent.
imagine. Yes.
Every time my rent goes out of my account every month, I just feel like a very big part of me
I can
is being
imagine. I
chipped
can
up.
relate.
And
Yeah.
I called my partner. I said, you know what? I'm tired of paying rent. This amount of money for an individual.
Yeah.
I'm practically paying his mortgage, so
That's true.
I want to stop paying rent. I want to buy my own house, and we talked about it, and we started the process.
I love that. I mean, the rents here can be a bit steep, so it's great to see that you're putting that in your own property rather
Yes.
than someone else's. That makes sense. So, how did you find the home buying process? And, did you go through any particular challenges when you were trying to buy those homes?
Yes. So I'll start. I'll talk about my first purchase because it was a major purchase. It was a house. It was a 4-bedroom house that I was looking to buy.
Nice.
At that time, I had options of either buying a new build or an old house.
Yes.
And then one of the things that we did as a family was I started researching. We considered a number of things.
Yeah.
We considered the school for the children. We considered the neighborhood.
That makes sense.
And we also considered the market value of the houses of
Yeah.
the neighborhood as
Yes.
well. So it wasn't a straightforward process. It was a bit cumbersome
I imagine.
because we wanted to save money as well.
Of
We
course.
didn't want
Yeah.
to spend too much because we didn't want to dig into our savings a lot. So we were looking for the best possible way to maximize our savings and
Yeah.
not pay too many professional fees.
Right.
And then when we did the research, we sought information. We used Help to Buy for our
Okay.
first purchase,
Yeah, that
which
makes
made
sense.
it a lot easier. It made it easier on our savings. And but I'll say that the process initially was a bit tasking in terms of what is required, credit history, documents here and there,
Yeah.
where your savings coming from, and things like that. But all in all, we were able to go through the process, and we were joyful about it at the end of the day.
That makes sense. I think I like the bit of doing a lot of research because that's where some people don't know where to look to find information. But something you mentioned about, the first one, which is help to buy. What does that mean?
So Help to Buy is a scheme by the UK government that helps people that wants to get on the property ladder to either to buy their first home, mostly buy your first home.
Yeah.
It's not restricted to first-time buyers,
Yeah.
but it is given to mostly first-time buyers. So the
Right.
government gives you a certain amount of loan, and that offset about 20%
Nice.
of the value of the property you're about to buy,
Okay.
and which also reduces the deposit you pay
Oh,
to the
okay.
developer.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy for people to get on the property ladder quickly. So it's a very good scheme that the UK government brought about.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether that scheme is still on.
Yeah.
But before I came out, I tried to check on it, but I forgot at the end of the day.
It's okay.
But it's good. I think it's still on.
Yeah.
But I think it's strictly for first-time buyers now.
Okay, that makes sense. I think what we'll do is before we release the episode, we'll just, double check that is
Yes,
still
yeah,
available.
you might
and
want
put
to
the
check
links
and
in
see
the
that.
chat.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
good.
makes sense. So so how was the process like for buying your second home? Because you mentioned that the first home was Help to Buy, and then how did you decide that, okay, it's time to have the second apartment or second home?
Okay, so a bit of background on my person. I'm a real estate person.
Yeah.
Back home, when I say back home, I'm in Nigeria. I played a lot in the real estate industry. I
Yeah.
own properties there. So I have the same approach here in the UK. I believe one of the best way to sort of tie money down or invest in things is real estate. So the first house was an investment. It wasn't for me to just stop paying rent.
Yeah.
I wanted somewhere I can put in my savings where it would appreciate over time.
That makes sense.
So it was so when we bought the first house, we had already agreed that this is just for us to temporarily move into, because the ultimate goal was for us to let out that property.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Okay.
So I think the second year when we made the first purchase of the house, where I actually wanted to live, the neighborhood that I actually wanted, which was where I wanted to make the first purchase, they had finished selling out the type of design that I wanted. They finished selling out. So I had to settle for another development, not very far from that neighborhood.
Okay.
So by the second year, I was driving past my preferred neighborhood, and I noticed that they had signs up to say, oh, they have new
Nice.
houses for sale right now. And I went into the developer office and I told them I wanted these, and I made a reservation there. I brought my wife later. We did a tour of the building.
Nice.
And at that time, I wasn't ready to buy. It wasn't like we had already said, oh, second year in, we'll buy another house. We weren't ready. Our savings was not too great. But, this is where I would say God, sort of like, minister to me and say, go for it. Because I didn't think about it. It was an impulsive thing. Oh, they have what I want. I went there. I asked the question. They showed me the design that I want. I did the tour personally before I even called my partner.
Right.
And I went back home. I said, you know what? These guys are building again. And I think we should go there and just look around.
Good.
My partner actually said, are we buying? Are we ready to buy? And of course, women, they can very mathematical. She was already thinking about our savings. Oh, we don't have enough. We're going to be, let's just go and see what they have. And we got there, we took a tour, and, we saw what we wanted. And the marketers are very good as well. They're very convincing. When by the time they start wrapping you up, talking about the features and all of that and everything, before you know it, we said, okay, you know what, sign us up. So we signed up for it. And as at that time, we didn't really have the savings because the house was even more expensive than what we anticipated. But we signed up anyway. We made reservation, and the process started from there.
That's good. That's really interesting. I think that from what you've said, there's a lot of thoughts that went through this entire process. And there's also the the impact of a supportive partner as well, because you jointly went and made these two decisions yourselves.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. But then what would you say is, how does your new home compare to what you envisioned when you started looking? I know you mentioned that initially it wasn't what you wanted for the other apartment at some point before you now saw what you originally wanted. Yeah. So what would you say, how does this compare? Like, how does these two new homes you want, what is the experience like for you? Does it meet the expectations that you need?
Okay, so again, it plays into what we have as a person. I like space a lot.
Yeah.
I'm very claustrophobic. I don't like small spaces. Even if there's this big space, I like a space where everyone can move around without bumping into each other.
Yeah.
So the first house was okay. It was big as well. It was 4-bedroom and all of that. But it didn't have the extra spaces that would allow me to express myself.
Yeah.
Because also, as a Nigerian family, Nigerian families, we have people visit a lot.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you have families coming around, and then you want them to stay and things like that. So I wanted that extra space, and I wanted my own man cave. All right, I wanted man cave for myself. I wanted
I
a
love that.
space
Yeah.
that is exclusively
For
mine.
you, yeah.
So the second house that we bought, tick all the right boxes.
That makes
It
sense.
had all the spaces.
Yeah.
We had its own garage. We had a lounge. We had a living
That's
space.
lovely.
The garden is very big, and I'm very big on garden office.
Okay.
Even in the first house, I had a garden office there, and the second house. So when I was about to buy, I wanted a big garden as well, so that I can have a garden office there. So in terms of what we needed as a family, it ticked all the boxes.
perfect. I like
My
that.
children all have their own rooms.
That's good.
We have our own room. We have a guest room.
That's lovely.
We had a lounge that everyone can be doing whatever they were doing at the
They
same
won't
time
bump
without
into each
getting
other.
into each
Yeah.
other's way. So
That's
that was one
lovely.
of the primary aim for the second house. Space. It was space for me.
I like that. I like that there was even like a difference between the two, and I like that you actually got what you wanted. So that's great.
Yeah.
So what neighborhood is this in, if you're okay with sharing that, and how did you decide that this was the neighborhood you wanted to settle in?
I mean, my journey in terms of living started from London. So I've lived in London, several parts of London. Before I made the first purchase, we were living in Waltham Abbey, and it was a very quiet neighborhood, middle class, and I wanted something similar to that. Even though I was paying rent there, I wanted something similar to that. So when we were searching, we looked at London, but there weren't enough places in London that sort of like has that quietness. And of course, we're also looking at schools as well. So we are in a search. And we're also looking at developers as well. We're looking at developers. We had, there was Barts, there was Taylor Wimpey, there was Persimmon, and there was Countryside. All right, this is not an advert, by the way. Countryside, I like Countryside homes. I like their houses. They put a lot of thought in their houses as well, other than other developers. So when we were going to buy the first house, we went to Essex. And, we were looking at the neighborhood. There was Sawbridgeworth, there was Beecher Stockforth, there was Chelmsford. Now, whenever I'm making a decision to move or stay somewhere, I like my home to be close to an airport.
Okay.
I like proximity to the airport because I travel a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't want to travel 1 hour, 1 hour 30 minutes before getting to an airport. So I looked at the two closest airports to this neighborhood called Harlow, and there was Stansted, which would take me about 13 minutes to get there, and there was London City, which would take me about 35 minutes to get to the airport. So we looked at that, and also the schools as well. My wife was a very big fan of the academy.
That's good.
We wanted the children to go to an academy and all of that. So we looked at schools as well, and then we found one which was a very good academy. And it's okay, Essex is the place to go. And then we found a development in Harlow, Gilden Park. That was the first buy. And fortunately enough, the second buy is literally like 2-3 minutes away from the first development.
What?
so the first and second houses shares about maybe about 200 to 300 meters apart in terms of distance.
Wow. So the first apartment, you put it up for rent, right?
Yes.
So that means you're close to your
It's currently
tenant.
has a tenant in it right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I think one of the things that made sense, like a lot of things that you've said are very, very useful, to be honest. So beyond your preferences, people need to also pay attention to the things that matter in terms of like growth for the family. So in terms of the academy, the kind of space that you need, the kind of environment you want your family to grow up in and all of that. So I like that. And
I think most importantly, because for people that work, for career people or for business people that tend to commute a lot, maybe you commute into London or you go to some other places, that's another major reason, you need to look before you buy.
Yes.
Because if you work in London or you work in a certain place, you want to look at your commute, the train station, whether you're taking the bus or you're taking the tube, you want to look at the distance.
Yeah.
So my wife works out of London as well. So one of the things I also looked at is the fact that how long does the train take from where we're buying to central London, which is 30 minutes, which is very good for us, which is perfect. Which is you can literally wake up around at 7 o'clock, get to walk to the train station, and get to work in time, and you're not under any particular pressure. So our jobs was also a key in terms of how we decided where we're going to stay in terms of the area.
I like that. I like that there's a lot of thought that went through this because eventually this is your dream home at the
Yes.
end of the day. I like that.
Well, allegedly.
Well, what would you say was the most exciting or nerve-wracking part of this process, both homes?
Okay, so when buying a home, the nerve-wracking part of it, they are in two stages.
Yeah,
So the first stage is if when you're about to make that decision,
yeah,
the house itself, whether you're trying to buy a new build or
Yeah.
you're trying to buy a whole home, what are the things you're looking out for and all of that and everything. It can be very difficult to make that decision. It can be because you will see a lot of designs, you will see you will see 3-bedroom, you see 2-bedroom, you see 4-bedroom, you see a lot of things in terms of
Yeah.
aesthetics.
Yes.
So that can be very overwhelming sometimes. Oh, do I want this? Do I want that? And things like that. Another part of it is the actual process itself. Selecting a mortgage advisor, getting an attorney, and when you're about to, there are two major stages. One is exchange, and the other one is completion.
Okay.
All right. So those two periods can be actually when you don't have all your savings. Maybe, for instance, maybe out of your deposit, you have maybe 70% of it or 80% of it.
Okay.
So you're trusting God that before it gets to the stage of exchange
Yeah.
and things like that, you would have gotten the remaining 20%. Sometimes it doesn't actually work out like that.
Yeah.
Maybe some other things happen in the family or something happened that you have to divert your funds
Yes,
there.
yeah.
So, and when you get to that stage without your funds being complete, you run the risk of losing the purchase because the developer might pull out and you probably lose your
Yes.
deposit. So
Yeah.
that stage can be very nerve-wracking for some
Nerve-wracking, I can
people,
imagine, yeah.
especially if you don't have 100% of your deposit
Okay.
worked out before you get to the stage to exchange or complete.
Okay, that makes sense. I like how you're like diving deep into all of the things that people need to pay attention to, which is really, really useful. Did you experience any unexpected costs or surprises when you moved in?
Yes. So we used Help to Buy for the first purchase.
Yes.
So, and we didn't pay stamp duty. Right. So when we wanted to buy the second home, we were going to pay. We thought we were not going to pay stamp duty. We read all the laws, we read all the policies. We were actually paying attention to government policy, government announcement, because all of those things, government announcement, interest rate, all of those things are factors that affect the entire purchase itself in terms of how much you're going to be paying as mortgage
Yeah.
at the end of the month. So we initially thought we were not going to pay stamp duty.
yeah.
So at an advanced stage of our second buy, we realized that we needed to come up with the stamp duty cost, and we didn't have it. We didn't have that stamp
Yeah.
duty worked out into our finances. We didn't have it saved up and all of that. So that was a bit something that we didn't anticipate. Even though we anticipated it, we thought we were going to use a particular rule in the policy book to dodge it, but with all of the antics, with all everything that our mortgage
Did not
advisor
work out.
did, with our attorney did,
Yeah.
it didn't work out. So we
Yeah.
had to come up with that
wow.
stamp duty. But of course, God came through. We were able to come up with it, and we are in the house right now.
That's good. That's good.